Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the 14.8 patch notes rundown. This is the MSI patch, and it looked like this was going to be a big patch when I saw it on Twitter, but then we're going to get into it, and we're gonna talk about some of the stuff. Okay, so nerfs, there's not a lot. Buffs, a lot of things are getting buffed, and there's obviously some system change stuff going on here. It's not even a whole lot of skins, so this patch is not intended to actually make money. So that is kind of cool. And then there's some adjustments. So Vanguard is finally in the game. If you did not see, there was something really gross. There was a very large percent of cheaters. Beginning with this patch, Vanguard will officially be turned on the Philippines on live servers. This means the enforcement of Vanguard will be in effect for that region, and you'll be unable to queue unless you have Vanguard on. This is really good. For the rest of the world, this patch will continue a pop-up to check your compatibility, and we'll check to make sure that your operating system is up to date and that you have TPM 2.0 enabled if you're on, etc. Okay, let's just move into it. Akali, base health is increased by 30. This is really weird. So she's just getting a flat 30. She's getting an auto attack worth of extra HP. She's already really hard to move in pro play. This just makes it that much harder. You're basically not moving her now. That's really all that it is to it. I mean, beyond that, it's not too much of a buff because she's not doing anything else, obviously, with the HP. Azir, base health regen is decreased. W damage is also decreased. So the regen's down by 1.5. W Ryze 0 to 77 based on level, plus 50 to 118, plus 55% AP to 0 to 77 based on level, plus 50 to 110. So he's just losing a little bit of scaling damage. I mean, that's really it. And then, yeah, that's it. He's losing a little bit of scaling damage on his W. So he's losing a little bit of sustain, and his W damage is decreased. These are not the types of changes that are going to move him from his status in pro play, because, I mean, Azir is already very difficult to be moved. This amount of HP probably going to equate to maybe a little bit more than one auto inside of a laning phase, which means that professional Azir should be able to play around it. And this is not the type of stuff that you're drafting around, right? So Azir should just remain fine. Briar, health growth decreased, Q range increased, W bonus attack speed is decreased. So this is really funny, right? Because Briar was listed as a nerf, but it's actually a buff. So this is a really stealth way that Riot does things sometimes. So the health growth is down by 5, so she's just losing 5 HP per level now, which, okay, she loses an auto in laning phase on first recall. In Q, head rush is going to be, okay, 450 to 475, which is quite a big buff, getting an extra 25 range. So Blood Frenzy, 54 to 110% to 55 to 95%. So that is a nerf, but realistically, you're not utilizing the max bonus. I mean, you're not utilizing the entirety of the attack speed anyway, right? And at the super early ranks, you're not noticing it at all. So this just does not matter. All in all, I would say this is actually like a Briar buff. Draven, Q damage is increased. Spinning Axe, 40 to 60 plus 75 to 115% bonus AD. 45 to 65 is just a flat 5 bonus AD plus 75 to 115. So he's just getting a flat 5 on his Spinning Axe. This is actually a really big deal. Draven is just getting 5 flat AD level 1. That's basically what this is. You know how Riot sometimes gives like 2 damage to a champion or something, right? You know how, like, sometimes they get, like, 280? Well, this isn't quite 280 because it's not quite the same because, like, this doesn't affect his, like, E damage. It doesn't affect his R damage, right? Or anything like that, right? But ultimately, it is affecting his Q, right? So in a way, right? Imagine a champion that, I guess Graves, right? Graves, imagine you give him 80. Well, no, it's affecting his Q and it's affecting his R. So, okay, so the thing here with Draven is, yeah, Riot's just giving him a flat 5 AD, 10 even. You know, if he has 2 spinning axes and he weaves them both on you inside of like a short trade, like this is actually a really big buff. This is big because Draven likes to do a lot of short trades. He can easily do like 8 short trades in a lane where he weaves like 2 autos, and that actually equates to something for Draven. Like, that does actually help him find lethal because it is a sizable enough, I think, amount of damage for a champion like Draven. So, interestingly enough, I think that is fine for Draven. Galio, base movement speed is increased, Q cooldown is decreased early. They keep trying to force him So 5 movement speed up for Galio, so they're making him more nimble. And then Q Winds of War is going down even more. So Q cooldown is now going to go 12 to 7 to 11 to 7. So rank 1. Okay. So you have more wave clear as you do QWE for your first points or whatever. You're going to have more wave clear for the first like minutes of the game. Or it's gonna be up a little bit more frequently. Okay. Graves, passive reload timer scaling adjusted, critical damage ratio per pallet increased. Okay, passive, new destiny. Attack speed scaling. Increased attack speed scaling from non-level sources towards reload timer by 35%. Very nice. Critical damage ratio per pellet 40 to 45%. So I have to see what this actually means in game, because I do wonder what this means for like going Phantom Dancer or any of the attack speed items, right? Or like even Trinity Force, these types of things, which was one of the builds that was going on last summer. Because if suddenly Graves just actually has a lot of auto attacks, and that obviously means he's dealing a lot more damage, this is not just a small buff if he's just instantly getting a lot more bullets, right? Because you can't get enough ability haste to the point where you're just perma using E, and E is like permanently up, which means that you're always auto attacking anyway and you're repositioning. If Graves' autos are always just sort of coming out because he's able to reload so frequently and stuff, that is a massive damage buff. Critical damage ratio per pellet 40 to 45%. I don't think that we're gonna get anything with like Infinity Edge, but this is a buff to like Lord Dom. This is a buff to like the Collector LDR, IE type thing where you do that, right? So lethality crit. Or like armor pen crit, whatever you want to call it. Hwei. Passive bone and magic damage is increased. Hwei is getting buffed again. He's just a really complex champion. He's actually really strong as it is, so it's really sad that he's getting buffed. He's getting 5% AP, which is kind of gross for Hwei, but okay. Signature of the Visionary, very cool name of an ability. Passive martial cadence. 6% of the target's current health, 7% of the target's current health. So Jarvan is indirectly still a little bit worse because his items are different than last season. But they have undone a lot of the nerfs that they gave to him, and now they're giving him back a lot of power. So giving back 1% of the target's current health, this doesn't really matter. Like, okay, if the target has 1,000 HP, okay, 1% is 10 more damage. Like, 10 damage is not what's gating you from being able to play Jarvan on a gank, okay? If they have 500 HP currently remaining, all right, dealing an extra 5 damage and then it goes through resistances on your martial cadence. This is not what's gating Jarvan from being competitively viable. So he needs help in other areas. Now, obviously, if this number was like larger or okay, sure, like on the opening gank or something, if a target has like 1,000 HP, yes, this is kind of a nice little damage buff, right? But he really either needs more utility or he needs more like guaranteed damage that isn't dependent on like outright the opponent being max health as the thing starts. But yeah, anyways. Jhin. Bonus movement speed on crits increased. Q damage is increased. Passive Whisper. Bonus movement speed on critical 10 plus 0.4% bonus attack speed to 14 plus 0.4% bonus attack speed. So he gets 4%, so he gets magical boots on top of it. Not really, again, what's preventing Jhin. Dancing Grenade. All right, is just buffed. Actually, quite a bit. Minimum physical damage is down by 1, but it doesn't matter because the total AD ratio is up by quite a bit, 9%. So that's totally fine. Very nice. Kaisa, Q damage is increased. Icathian Rain, 40 to 100 plus 50% bonus AD, 20% AP, to 40 to 100 plus 55% bonus AD. So no matter what, it's only a 5% bonus AD. This still helps the Monomune AP Kaisa build, which is Kaisa, still Kaisa's best builds. We wanted to buff Kaisa to encourage more ADC diversity in solo queue and pro play without touching AP builds, which can be problematic. Yes, sir. We want to increase the AD ratio on Kaisa's Q to emphasize damage that required higher commitment and, yeah, okay. Well, it's actually funny because the AP version plays more like an assassin on the WW follow-up than AD does, so that's also even funny too. But anyways, yeah, the AP variant is just, I mean, it is just better than the AD, so it is just really sad. Anyways, Leblanc, Q damage increase, W cooldown is decreased. Sigil of Malice, 65 to 165, 45% AP, 70 to 170 plus 45% AP. So they're just giving a flat 5 to the base. Okay, whatever. W distortion, 18 to 15 At rank 1. That is absurd, by the way. That is absolutely bonkers that this is happening. So they're giving her a flat base here, and they're giving 3 seconds off on the distortion. But ultimately, at max rank, it is still the same, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, Mordekaiser. This was the talk of the town on Twitter, if anyone was following. And then you guys might have also seen the chain thread where a North American challenger player named Command Attack, who often actually tries to have pretty reasonable and good faith like conversations. I think he was also trying to have a good faith conversation there on Twitter. I didn't engage in that particular conversation. I was kind of CBA with it. It wasn't the combo that I wanted to engage with on Twitter, even though I disagree with what he was saying in general, because I think it's too long to engage with. If anyone saw that thread, there was a lot of clips and there was a lot of like text and all this other stuff. But anyways, Mordekaiser was pretty much everywhere. So let's talk about Mordekaiser. So Q Obliterate is going down by 1 second early. So this makes his wave clear better. It makes his trading better, etc. Okay, E damage is now decreased. Okay, so E, when you land it, which is on North America, where players have varying amounts of ping, because if you're playing and you're in Chicago or you're on the East Coast and you have a 70 ping advantage over your opponent playing in California, or Oregon or Washington, or maybe they're absolutely screwed and they're from Alaska, with 140 ping, they're not dodging Death's Grasp, okay? So they will get hit by this. So, in that case, yeah, it is going to be a little bit nerfed. But realistically, you're not really landing this in a lot of cases. So it's not the end of the world that it gets nerfed. Okay. Our Death Realm. Death Realm escape interactions. Champions can no longer escape Mordekaiser's Death Realm by using QSS. Scimitar, Alistar's Unbreakable Will, Gangplank's Remove Scurvy, Emilio's Breath of Life, Olaf's Ragnarok, or Rengar's Ferocity Battle Roar. However, crowd control immunity will still prevent the application of Death Realm. Very nice. Which means that you can become invulnerable as Mordekaiser goes to cast it during the hand raise, I assume, which is an interaction in like the Alawi matchup, where when Mordekaiser goes to raise his hand, you respond with R, Alawi jumps into the air, becomes untargetable, and it will fizzle. So there's things like that. So here's the thing. Mordekaiser, if you guys read what I said on Twitter, you did not want to build QSS against Mordekaiser anyway. In fact, you didn't build QSS against Mordekaiser anyway. A lot of people saying that, well, now he's going to be able to lock the jungler out of the objective. He could already do that. There was never an instance in pro play, and you can't find one, or if you do find one, the jungler shouldn't have had QSS anyway. You can go through a bunch of Mordekaiser games. The jungler didn't have QSS anyway. It's just not a real thing. Junglers can't afford to get QSS. That was one reward that you just got from having Mordekaiser, and it doesn't change now because it didn't change then because the jungler can't afford QSS. They can't get it, right? Now, the thing is that a lot of champions hit a point where they can just 1v1 Mordekaiser in the Death Realm, right? Certain AD carries will just kill him. In fact, if you go into pro play, you will see Mordekaiser go into Death Realm with certain characters and lose inside of the Death Realm 1v1. Typically, this happens at like 3 items, right? Certain 3-item AD carries are going to be able to kill him inside of the Death Realm. There's even going to be certain bruisers that manage to beat him 1v1 inside of the Death Realm. There's going to be certain mages that manage to stall him out inside of the Death Realm, especially if they have like Zanyas and stuff like that, and they'll be able to get out of there and whatnot. So the thing is that like no one really buys QSS. Now, one thing that I can say is that if you're so far ahead, you can buy QSS. And what that ends up doing is it lets you just run him over completely. He loses Death Realm as even an option. And that's sort of like a hyper asphyxiation. That is a way that you can just break his larynx, right? That's something that you just do there is no coming back for him at that point. That's like when you were just annihilating Malzahar so hard in lane that you skip your first item or something like that, or not even skip your first item. You just pick up a QSS, and now he can't R you. And then his lane just feels like it's just doomed, right? Especially if it's like a matchup where he can't even use Voidlings, right? If you're like playing Ryze or something like that, and he can't use Voidlings, and you're beating him, right? You have 2 kills or something. You killed his jungler. You have a CS advantage. He can't cast Voidlings because you're Ryze. You have Void Flux and everything like that. You have like turret plates on him or something. Whatever. You pick up QSS. Well, Mal's now like he's out of options, right? Now, that feels a little bit bad, right? Now, the longer the game goes on, the better that is for Malzahar, because you did have to buy QSS, and he ultimately won't care the longer the game goes on. And Mordekaiser is actually, oddly enough, kind of the same way, where the longer that the game goes on, he's happy that you built QSS. So building QSS is kind of like a bad thing, because you should have just been able to either beat him or play around needing QSS anyway. And that's the reality of the situation. Now, the thing is I don't think that a lot of people read patch notes. I'm actually really curious what the hits are on this page. That's a question that I have for Riot. I wonder if I could ask them and get an answer on that. I actually, yeah, that is, I'm going to actually try to, I'm going to try to ask Riot actually. Okay, I'm going to try to ask the question how many hits the patch note page gets. Now, obviously, I think the patch notes are also in the client, so that's not going to be like the best of things. And also, there's other languages and stuff. I'm just curious how many hits ultimately patch notes get. And also, other people watch things through different mediums. Some people watch patch note rundowns, right? We'll watch that here. Or they watch Freaks, or they watch, you know, like, I think there's other YouTubers that do it in other languages and stuff. And that's totally fine. So, I don't know how many people will actually even read this, and people will still build QSS and stuff. So it is actually funny. I wonder if there's going to be like a Riot August interaction where people start not building QSS, and I wonder if his win rate goes down. And what I mean by that is like the Zed thing with QSS that August talked about once. Now, maybe that won't be the case. But I think that building QSS against him was bad in general. I think that you should not have built QSS against him. I think that if you did build QSS against him, it meant that he was winning, unless the aforementioned scenario was present where you're doing it to like crush his larynx, right? Like you're so far ahead of him that you're doing it to almost like just mock him and just like ignore him and just hit his turret, you know, something like that. Pretty much that, right? So if it's not that case and you had to buy QSS, whether it was because you're on even footing or because he's the one beating you so bad that you had to do that, that means he's even further ahead. And you just didn't want to do that. So anyways, that's it for Mordekaiser. Olaf, Cube, or actually, no, that's not it for Mordekaiser. Let me talk about some things. So let me respond to some of the stuff on Twitter. Some of the stuff on Twitter was saying that Mordekaiser is like a multi-way flex. And that's just not true. He's not a multi-way flex because he's for the most part one-dimensional. He has a very set way of being able to play. He doesn't have other modes. And so fundamentally, because he doesn't have other modes and because he doesn't fit into a myriad of team compositions, it means that even if you do draft him early and you flex him, you have still committed to an aspect of your team composition to having to accommodate or to be having to accommodate the way that he is going to play. Which means that you're vulnerable to that. So it doesn't matter that he's actually a 5-way flex in the way that, like, let's say Jarvan or something is like a real multi-way flex, right? Because Jarvan can use Cataclysm offensively and he can use it defensively. Jarvan can be a tank. Jarvan can be offensive or defensive, right? Depending on like what the game state is actually calling for. Jarvan can do different types of things. Now you could say that Mordekaiser could be defensive because he could itemize defensive and then he could use Death Realm defensively. No. This is totally different from like what Jarvan's doing, and let's not pretend that they're going to have the same level of utility at all stages throughout the game. That's just dishonest. They're absolutely not the same card, and this is like using a TCG comparison, right? And then it goes down to like a BIS list, right? You would go down like BIS, and then you would go down to like, you know, about card evaluation, this type of stuff. So Mordekaiser just has a lot of bad matchups. That is just true. And even if he has like an even matchup or a good matchup, it doesn't inherently mean that it's good for the overall health of the team composition or the game, because what is he actually providing? Some of his matchups are actually just skill matchups. Now, yes, some of his matchups no longer are just completely unwinnable. Like Olaf, I guess, is now, yeah, I mean, I guess Olaf is going to be a little bit more playable. Olaf will be a little bit more playable That is for sure. Gangplank, I guess, is a little bit more playable now. I mean, Olaf is still going to beat him. And Gangplank is definitely going to be a little bit more playable. These things are, like, still fine. But there's still just going to be so many matchups that are just going to be so hard for him. And even inside of the jungle, I mean, he's still going to have so many problems. Now, in mid lane, I do agree that Mordekaiser is misunderstood in mid the same way that, like, Yorick is misunderstood in mid, or like most tanks, like Sion, and these types of champions are misunderstood in mid. And I do think that there's merit there. It doesn't mean that Mordekaiser can never be picked, but let's not pretend that Mordekaiser is a great champion, because he's just not. He has to come in. Usually, Mordekaiser is a sideboard card. For people that don't play TCGs, that is a card that you can use in game 2 and 3 of a best of 3 in a card game. And he's a card that you put into your deck in game 2 and 3 specifically to snipe typically one card. And that's what Mordekaiser does. Mordekaiser really likes to come in drafts where the opponent has one key piece, or like 1.5 key pieces, and he can really promise to disrupt it, and he can guarantee that he can disrupt it. And that is not locking out the jungler at an objective, or something like that. That would be like, you know, that would be like now like a protect the Cog comp that really has no damage besides Cogmaw, or something like that, right? And you just put Cog in the Death Realm. Now, Cog would probably stand still and kill Mordekaiser at a certain item point. Let's be honest, right? But Cog's team would probably die while Mord is in the Death Realm. Like that is, I mean, that's something that like can go on. But like examples like that, right? I think I just use Cog as an analogy because Cog and Juggermaw is a pretty good known thing. Olaf, Q bonus damage to monsters has increased. Undertow, 5 to 25, 5 to 45. I would, you know, I would say like, okay, this is really cool because, you know, we might see Olaf at MSI. I mean, honestly, maybe if we do see Olaf at MSI, it just makes me really sad because we were seeing how Xin Zhao was being used, and we were seeing Xin Zhao being used so poorly. Olaf's not a jungler. It's just he's really just not a jungler. He wants gold, he wants levels. He doesn't get that in the jungle. If you're picking him just to be a stat stick and be a physical damage jungler that beats the other jungler 1v1 just for that purpose, you're drafting bad. Like that's just Udyr does this. Like why don't we just pick Udyr, and then the champion's not useless. Ryze. W slow increase, cooldown decreased early. This is massive because Ryze got a lot of indirect buffs in the last couple of patches as well, with the Rod of Ages and the Seraph's buffs and everything else going on. So Ryze is getting a lot of love. Slow is up by 15%, cooldown down by 2 seconds at rank 1. Huge for his combos, huge for his chasing. The slow going up by 15% also means that you get to weave in another auto or two, actually, just off of like W slow auto things. That's a lot of damage. Ryze is getting a lot of damage early. Skarner. So this is also talk of the town on Twitter. So, Skarner is pretty fun. If you've seen the clips on Twitter and everything like that. Mana growth is going to be down by 5. Really big nerf to jungle. Very big nerf to top lane. Mana growth regeneration is going to be up by 0.15. Okay. Q Shattered Earth Upheaval. Damage per hit 10 to 50 plus 40% bonus AD. 6% target's bonus health to 10 to 70. So it's up later. 60% bonus AD. 6% bonus health. Okay, so it's just up later. Okay, so the damage per hit is up as you start putting points into it. Very nice. And so this is rewarding jungle because top lane maxes W. Okay. Mana cost is going to go 40 to 60 to 30 to 50. Okay, and so jungle is getting rewarded for the mana growth being lost. Okay. Buff duration 3.5 to 5. This is very nice. Again, very nice for jungle. Upheaval recast lockout 0.75 to 0.5. Very nice for jungle. A shattered earth cast timer 0.5 to 0.35. Seismic bastion. Mana cost is going up. So they're really hitting his mana. But the thing is that he doesn't actually have mana trouble after he gets tier. So I don't think this is enough. Okay, well, losing 30 damage. Wait. But he's losing 20 at rank 3. Losing 20 at rank 3. It's not like he's never hitting Q though. Is this actually enough to move him? I don't know. Ooh. Guys, I don't know if that's enough to move him. Because he's getting the buffs here. because he's getting the buffs here, eventually, like, his annoying W stuff isn't going to matter. Eventually, this thing won't matter. Eventually, this will... Well, the mana doesn't matter once he gets tier. Mana doesn't matter. Okay, at rank 1 and 2, okay, he is losing 10 damage, and it is magic, too. So it's actually almost 10 damage. Like, it is, like, resists, or, you know, non-existent early. And then he's losing 15 at rank 2, and then 20 at rank 3. Those are actual pretty big numbers. He's probably losing 100 damage pre-recall. I guess that is kind of a big deal. It is kind of a big deal. I mean, because you're also not going to have points in queue, which means you're not getting access to this, which would make up for some of it. Interesting, interesting. Well, you will get the bonus. Well, no, you won't even get the bonus AD. Ooh, interesting. Ooh, I don't think this is enough to completely kill him, but yeah. Okay, those are okay. Sylas, Q explosion damage to monsters is increased. Chain Lash, 70% to 100%. They're really trying to force Sylas jungle. I think that it is probably going to be something that's possible in correct spots, and that means that Sylas is going to be flexible. Now they're putting it to 100%. His clear speed, his follow-up clear speed is going to be ridiculous. He's going to be flexible. The thing is that Sylas was able to function with just 2 items in the past. Zanya's was buffed now compared to where it was before if he is just going to function on 2 items. So if he does go Seekers and then gets needlessly large rod, etc., and he just plays with that, you know, and he just goes that way, and then he gets, like, I don't know, Haunting Guys or something like that as his neck recipe item, so he gets access to Madness or something. That way he gets a little bit more modification inside of fights as he's curving into a 3rd item. I guess that's actually probably fine. I mean, I could maybe see this happening. Thresh, base armor and magic resistance growth increased. Doesn't matter. Zac, base health region is decreased. 8 to 5. That's actually big. That is a lot of HP missing. Wow. Wow, that's a huge nerf to top lane. Oh my god. He's losing 36 HP a minute. Ooh. Losing a potion. Oh, he's losing a little bit more than a potion per recall. That's really big. Zeri, base health is decreased by 30. Okay. Systems. All right. Baron Nashor, acid magic pool damage, 10% AD to 200 plus 10% AD. This is really good. All right, so they're making Baron hit really hard. Acid pull slow is going to be up by 10%. Territorial Baron pull magic damage 75 to 300. Hunting Baron lightning magic damage 50% of target's current health to 20%, another 5% of current health. Honestly, just make it do max. I mean, make it do max health. Make it so the Baron actually kills, like, with the zap. That would be good. Azure Shot magic damage 20% AD. Honestly, they should really make Baron... Okay, one, if you guys didn't watch LCK finals or whatever, and you guys see, like, the 20-minute Baron flips and stuff, that stuff should not be possible. I like, while it's exciting and it's cool and whatnot, I do not think that 20-minute Baron flip should be possible. I genuinely don't think that that should be okay. Like, even as a gambit. I think that Baron really should... or, like, Baron should, like, get progressively stronger. Like, there should be, like, a first Baron, and then a second Baron, and then a third. Like, Baron should keep getting progressively stronger as the game goes on. Or, like, something like that. Make Baron harder and harder to kill. And then, Riot could even do something like slightly making each Baron buff slightly stronger or something. You know? I don't even know. Tentacle knock-up damage is also 200 plus 25% AD. That's huge. That is huge. Okay. Yeah, this is good. This is all really good. This is all good. Void Grubs. Initial Void Grub spawn time, 5 to 6 minutes. Touch of the Void per stack, 6, half to 3 for range champions. True damage per second. Okay. Hunger of the Void. Okay. Mythic Shop rotation. Okay. ARM balance changes. Quick play. Cool. Fix bugs. And that is it. And then we're into the skins. Okay. So let's talk about some stuff.
It's $3 a month. You get access to perks like videos early with no commercials, access.
Okay, I just hit a button. 1 second. Okay. All right, so let's talk about anything competitive happening here. So in terms of competitive viability, what are the actual changes? So Zac change is actually really massive. Graves change has the potential to be huge. Azir does not matter. Draven change is actually really big. Galio, we might end up actually seeing him. Hwei change is big. Jarvan doesn't matter. Jhin doesn't matter. Kai'Sa does not matter. Leblanc doesn't matter. Mordekaiser doesn't matter. Olaf, people might see him. I'll be sad if we do. Ryze change is huge. Skarner change is definitely necessary because we will see him at MSI probably. Sylas change is really big. Thresh doesn't matter. Zeri change also does not matter. Okay, so that is pretty much it. Now, for solo queue and stuff, people, yeah, so let's talk about this. So obviously I will make the competitive tier list, 14.8 with pro players and stuff for MSI the way that I do every single year. And I'll upload that onto YouTube. And then for solo queue, there's going to be two different things. I'll obviously do my regular patron solo queue and clash tier lists, which will, be uploaded onto Patreon. But then in addition to that, I will be talking with various content creators that make public patch notes, or not patch notes, tier lists. And I will be talking about them, or with their solo queue tier lists and stuff. I think I'll be doing something with I'll be doing something later tonight, I think, actually, on stream, but I'm not totally sure. So I will probably, you'll probably see a tweet about it or something like that. But that is pretty much it. So I'll be on several people's streams this week, just talking about their tier lists and stuff like that, because it's stuff that you probably saw me comment on a lot in the last couple of months. Just because there's not a whole lot of changes actually going on. So it is really sad when you see a lot of changes happening in solo queue lists that are just not reflective of actually what's happening in the patch notes. And that is it. So anyways, guys, that is all that is going on. I will see you for MSI. A lot of people have asked the question, by the way, and I'm just going to answer this one more time because I've said it on Twitter and elsewhere, okay? So for LCK, a lot of people asked why I did not do it. And I have said many times that I could not legally do LCK this split. And it was not fixed even through finals. So with that being said, I could not do anything. There was nothing that I could do. However, MSI will be fine. So assuming that I get co-stream rights for MSI, then we'll do MSI. But that is, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then everything resumes as. But that is it for the patch rundown. I will see you guys all later. Bye-bye.